It's less than a week later, but what was, as far as I can tell, the single deadliest shooting in the history of the capital of the largest state in the Union, Sacramento, California, is already an afterthought. It's mostly disappeared from the headlines, at least the national ones, because even while the details are still limited, the information that has come out has stripped this story of any political utility. It's not the right story demographically. It's not the right story politically in terms of guns and criminal justice. It's not the right story in any way, and so it's just not a story, which is a pretty good indicator it's worth paying attention to, and we should, or else this one will get filed in the same dusty cobweb cabinet as the Waukesha massacre. Remember, that one was just an unfortunately clumsy escape from a domestic violence incident, and this one is apparently a neighborhood round of laser tag that just got a little bit aggressive, with lead. On full auto, what exactly happened late Saturday, early Sunday outside several bars right near the California state capitol wasn't immediately clear over the weekend. There were several different angles of video showing what appears to be some sort of bar fight on the street, interrupted by clearly audible gunfire. Within a short amount of time, 6 people were dead and 12 were wounded, without any obvious reason for who was killed or why, or if the gunfire was even related to that street fighting at all. And the initial publication of that video had a tall claim attached to it. It was fully automatic gunfire, the tweet said, as in a machine gun. And originally I doubted that claim because crime with automatic weapons is so rare, but whether that's what we can hear on the video or not, it was one of the first pieces of evidence police disclosed publicly early in the week. The recovery of a stolen handgun modified for automatic fire, and that video we saw was only a small fraction of the gunfire, apparently. Police have recovered evidence of over 100 shots fired. So we quickly learned how they did it, which was with the exact sort of reckless bullet spray that's supposed to capture the attention of the national news cycle for days or weeks anytime it happens, but in this case it did not, because then we learned who did it. Or to be precisely accurate, who was at least directly involved. Police have so far made 3 arrests. 2 brothers, Dondre Martin, arrested on suspicion of assault with a firearm and illegal possession of that firearm. His brother, Smiley Martin, arrested on suspicion of possessing that machine gun and also being a prohibited person in possession of a firearm. And Davion Dawson, arrested on suspicion of being a prohibited person in possession of a firearm as well. And you'll notice, with one exception, those are gun charges, not homicide charges. Nobody has been charged with murder or attempted murder yet. That's why I say these guys are directly involved, not accused killers, because police have yet to make that formal accusation. But it's also fair to say that it doesn't look like these guys were minding their own business either, like they were just caught in the wrong place at the wrong time and just happened to be carrying guns illegally. Smiley Martin streamed himself brandishing a handgun live on Facebook shortly before the shooting. The portion of that video that's available is brief, but it looks like some antics are being plotted beyond just a nice evening stroll in the town. And if it was just a nice evening stroll, it's awfully unfortunate and coincidental that Smiley and his brother were both targeted by the seemingly random gunfire as well. Both brothers were wounded. They are part of the 12. Smiley hasn't even been to jail yet because his condition isn't good enough to go. He's still hospitalized. And Smiley personally knew at least one of the men killed. In a photo posted on Facebook at the start of March, Smiley posed with Joshua Hoy Lucchesi, shot dead Saturday night, with the unfortunate caption, "Bulletproof love." And of course, I'm no expert on the hand signs on display there, but I gather they're at least as controversial and worthy of coverage as the OK gesture, whatever those hand signs are. Your first guess about the associations that they signify is probably correct. A law enforcement source tells the LA Times that Smiley and his brother are associated with the Crips gang, and others identified in the shooting have ties to the Bloods gang. And so unsurprisingly, what we're dealing with is almost certainly gang violence. Rival street warfare in which police say at least 5 different people fired gunshots, possibly more. Some people hit were gang members. Some people hit were just innocents caught in the crossfire. And for all the obsession with gun violence in America otherwise, outside of the suicides that they harvest to pad the data, this is where the big numbers of the problem actually lie. inner city crime with weekend death tolls that more closely match war zones than they do the rest of the country. But even though this is perfectly representative of a broader problem, we're just going to act like it's something else because the political interests demand it. Because if it's gang violence, well, that means it somehow actually isn't a mass shooting worthy of the same attention or scrutiny. This according to coverage from the LA Times. At first, the shooting in downtown Sacramento appeared to be a mass shooting, but in recent days, more details have emerged that offer a different picture of the violence. By what insane metric is 6 dead, 12 wounded not a mass shooting? The tacit admission there is that numbers don't define mass shooting. Who does the shooting defines mass shooting. So if the shooter is part of a coveted protected class, well then it's not a mass shooting at all. And speaking of that protectionist privilege, how exactly is it that this rivalry, as we're supposed to characterize it instead of a mass shooting, how is it that this rivalry has reached such a scale? Are we supposed to believe that this is the first run-in with the law for all of these rivalry enthusiasts? Of course it isn't, but that's yet another reason for the broomsticks brushing hurriedly under the rug. Honest examination of the California system of criminal justice raises a lot of questions. As we've already discussed, the 3 men all being charged with firearm possession by a prohibited person indicates their criminal priors. But in the case of Smiley Martin, it's much worse than just a rap sheet. It's the state of California's management of it. Smiley Martin was sentenced to 10 years in prison in January 2018. This related to breaking into his prostitute girlfriend's home and beating her. Prior to that, Smiley had a criminal record dating back to 2013, almost immediately after he turned 18, which started when he tried to conceal a semi-automatic rifle in his waistband under his clothing. I can't believe that didn't work. I wish I could find a photo of this attempt, but I cannot. He got probation for that one. 10 months later, he stole thousands of dollars worth of electronics and other merchandise from Walmart and Target. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison for that. Later, he had a traffic stop in which he lied to police about his identity and fled on foot. Police tased him and learned he was a parolee at large. Then he gets 10 years in prison for beating his girlfriend until the California Parole Board decided that 2 was sufficient. Despite a pleading letter from the district attorney noting he is violent, he has always been violent. I don't think 4th time is the charm for Smiley. The DA predicted correctly, quote, "If he is released early, he will continue to break the law." And he was released early in February of this year, and he did continue to break the law. And now, at least 18 lives are lost or permanently altered, in part because of that decision. So they can't go with the mass shooting angle because that'll invite scrutiny on urban crime rates. And they can't go with the law enforcement angle because that'll invite scrutiny on the decision to let this guy out early with the stated expectation that he'll go kill people, an expectation that it looks like he fulfilled. So they have to move on, but not without taking at least a little of the obligatory bait. Of course, this wasn't the habitual criminal's fault, and this wasn't the state of California's fault for not dealing with that habitual criminal. This was clearly the gun's fault. Governor Gavin Newsom issued a statement. Sure, we have over 100 gun laws in California already, the most of any state, but we're going to need some more. The scourge of gun violence continues to be a crisis in our country, and we must resolve to bring an end to it. Well, you could have had some end, or at least a reduction to this one, by keeping this guy behind bars where he was until you let him out to do this. But yeah, it's the 108th gun law that totally would have stopped this. The Sacramento mayor says, well, yeah, but all of California's 107 glorious gun laws can't do anything if guys like this can just drive over to Nevada and get a gun, no questions asked, though. All you have to do is go to a Reno gun show and buy an assault weapon without a background check and come right back to California. Well, number one, there is no evidence this guy did that. But number two, if he did, that would be multiple federal crimes. Interstate transfer of firearms must be conducted through a federally licensed dealer who must conduct a federally required background check upon transfer of the gun. A criminal like Smiley is prohibited from receiving that transfer federally. He can't do it in Nevada. He can't do it in California. He cannot do it anywhere. And Joe Biden said much the same. Join me in putting the graves of Sacramento to political utility. We got to ban ghost guns. We got to get universal background checks. We got to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. You know the laundry list. Ghost gun, assault gun, 1 gun, 2 gun, red gun, blue gun. It doesn't matter. Under federal law, there is no place in the country where a domestic abuser like Smiley or a felon like his brother can have a gun. They can't. Period. But they did. They also can't have an unregistered machine gun anywhere. Period. But they did. They also can't use mags over 10 rounds in California. But they almost certainly did that too. When they release these criminals back onto the streets, they are telling us they will not defend us from them. When their solution is to ban weapons, they're telling us that we can't defend ourselves either. The logical conclusion is they want you subjugated. They want you victimized, they want you abused, they want you controlled. I would be open to an explanation otherwise, but California proves it routinely. You either get abused by the state or by the criminals there. If you're lucky, it's just one, but for many, it's both. And just when I think that the highest peaks and the lowest canyons of clown world have finally been surveyed, well, there's California to reveal there are new heights and depths still. This headline out Wednesday, California Democrat bill will allow non-citizens to become police officers. It's apparently hard to recruit cops into this insanity, so we'll have to look beyond our borders. They're saying the opportunity to police California will only apply to legal non-citizen immigrants, but as explained in the story, the bill does not specifically say that illegal immigrants are barred from joining state police forces. The bill's authors say that language would be unnecessary because federal law already prohibits that. And I'm sure California will enforce that federal law just as strongly as they enforce the federal gun laws that should have stopped this shooting. No matter how clownish it gets, California always has a bigger nose and a brighter wig for your enjoyment. Just wait until they send in badged MS-13 to stop the Blood Crip gang war. I'm joking, of course, but not nearly as much as I should be. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below and especially over on Minds. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chatting my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.